In this video, we will be covering the secrets that you need to know in order to create a better run offense in every Madden. Now, throughout this video, I will show you 5 techniques in order to counter the dollar meta blitz and run on pretty much every defense that you could see in any Madden. Let's start with technique number 1, which is holding off the gas.
Oh man, not the gas!
Which basically means not touching the right trigger until you're 100% sure you've seen the hole that you're ready to run through in the defense. Now, holding off the gas is particularly noticeable in inside runs, and as you can see, I have HB quick base called here, and I'm gonna do a couple side-by-sides to showcase exactly what I mean. So in this case, I'm gonna hold R2 and try to run through the hole. And as you can see, I kind of run right into a block there. If I was able to cut to the left, which I actually did try doing, you would have noticed I would have been able to sneak through this B gap right here. Between the left tackle and the left guard, I would have been able to fit right through that beautiful hole, maybe for a 15-yard gain. And if I could have taken out that safety all the way back here, like juked him or spun him out, we could have ended up scoring. But because I held R2, you could see I was hit right at the line of scrimmage. Now let's see if I can actually get this hole again. So in this case, I did hold off R2, then cut up. Unfortunately, the linebacker was able to make a play on us while he was being blocked. But nevertheless, I still gained about 5 yards. You can see I was able to find that hole. I was able to wait about a half second. You can see I'm still waiting in the backfield here. Then I see the hole and cut to it. I get hit by the linebacker, but that's still a 5-yard gain. Now I'm going to hold R2 here. I'm going to do another sprint just directly through the hole. In this case, we get hit. Right, we get hit by the linebacker, engaged with the lineman. But once again, if we hold off R2, you can see we can find that hole. And as you can see, we kind of got tapped there, but nevertheless, we were able to find that hole and gain 7 yards. Now you're noticing throughout these clips that I'm able to gain many more yards while I wait. Holding R2, although it seems like the natural thing to do, you want to get through that hole as fast as possible, just like in this example. I'm going to try getting through as fast as possible. You can make an incorrect guess very easily because the linebackers and the linemen haven't been picked up yet. So when you do hold off R2 and you kind of wait, you can find that hole. As you can see, I was able to gain 10 yards there. I paused right behind my linemen, let them pick up their blocks, then pressed R2 when I was sure which hole I wanted to run through. As you can see, we waited for this pulling guard. Then he hit his block. So in this case, I waited about right here. As you could see the stutter step I took, waited for the block to be picked up as opposed to running directly towards him, then slipped around, found the hole as soon as the block got picked up, and started sprinting right there, and I was able to gain 10, 15 yards. And that's really such an important trick in order to really take your run game to the next level. And just imagine I have 4 more. Now, tip number 2 is running towards your QB handedness. So basically, if your QB is right-handed, you want to be running all of your runs to the left. And if your QB is left-handed, you want to be running pretty much all of your runs to the right. Now, this doesn't mean only run it to the left if you have a right-handed quarterback. This just means that the handoff animations will be a lot faster. So you do want to cater towards running to the dominant side of the field. Now, here we are. Once again, I'm in a shotgun run, but it is the exact same thing for a under center run or a pistol run. So in this case, I'm running towards the left with Aaron Rodgers, who's a right-handed quarterback. Now, in theory, this should be a faster run when I'm handing it off to the left as opposed to the right. So in this case, I'm just going to run to the right, and you can see the handoff is decently fast. I'm able to get a decent gain there as well. I was able to hold off the gas, as previous tip mentioned. Now, if I were to hand it off to the right, though, you'll notice that the handoff is considerably slower side by side. So in this case, let's hand it off to the right. And you can see it was shot in the backfield. And you'll actually notice this not in the hand speed, or how fast the handoff is. It's actually very marginal, but you'll notice in how fast the defense reacts to it. So let's do another time. You'll notice how slow it actually is. So in this case, I'm handing it off, and it just takes that extra second, and I'm once again getting shot in the backfield. And remember, I'm playing against a cover 2 man on defense, so there's no extra run fits that are affecting this. But as you can see, when I go to the right, or to the left, sorry, you can see that handoff is a lot quicker, and I'm able to get a better gain. Now, the next tip I'm going to talk about in tip number 3 is calling the right run plays. Now, I don't mean, just run HB blast, just run HB stretch. The other runs suck. Not what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is to pick the right run play based on the defensive coverage shell. And let me just break that down. Now, there's 4 different coverage shells that are used to stop the pass, mainly. But they have an even bigger role against the run, and very few people know this. Now, there's cover 4, cover 2, cover 3, and man coverage. And each of those defenses have different run fits, and I'll show you how to run against all of them. Now, let's talk about the run fits for these coverages and how we're going to use them to our advantage. So a cover 4 has both safeties in a run fit. And that means that every inside run is pretty much shut down, and all of the other linebackers in the box and the slot corner that's technically also in the box is also in a run fit. And that's why cover 4 is such a great run defense. Cover 2, on the other hand, this one actually focuses on having the slot corners in run fits. So in this case, you can see the right side slot corner is in a run fit if I run to the right, and the left side slot corner is in a run fit. He's the force defender in this case if I run to the left. So as a result, you can see cover 2 is great for stopping outside runs, but isn't the best for stopping those inside runs. On the other hand, the weakest coverage defense, in my opinion, is cover 3. In this case, you do only really get one safety, whether it's a run to the right or the left. So that's why it's pretty easy to run on cover 3, whether it be inside or outside. In general, though, an outside run would still be better against cover 3. Now, the best run defense, depending on the context, is cover 0. As you can see, although the run fits may say that it's only one safety in the box, so I'm going to do it one more time, everyone manned up on the field. So in this case, I'm in Mike Blitz. So as you can see, Mike Blitz right here. Everyone manned up on the field. As soon as the player doesn't go for a pass, they will turn into run fits and go and play that run. So as a result, cover 0 is usually the best choice for run defense, and it's part of the reason dollar spinner is so good against the run, despite supposedly being a pass defense. Now, how exactly are we going to beat these different run defenses or coverages and to use these coverages to our advantage? Now, versus cover 4, since all of the run fits are to the interior of the field, we're going to want to prioritize running to the outside. So in this case, HB stretch is a great call versus cover 4 and can usually result in some gigantic gains and even touchdowns. Now, versus cover 2, since all the run fits are to the outside of the field, you want to prioritize inside runs like HB dive, power O, or even HB blast. And also inside zones, bases, and stuff from shotgun will also work. So in this case, we're just going to call HB dive here, and we're just going to try to find a hole. And as you can see, since the safeties didn't come down to shoot it, you can find large open holes to run through. So in this case, you see the safeties are stepping back. They're at least 20 yards from the line of scrimmage, and that allows you to get some easy gains in the middle of the field as long as your offensive linemen hold their blocks. Let's just run another HB dive and just try to get a good bit of results. And as you can see, we get a good 17 yards just running straight through the middle of the field because cover 2 is such a weak defense in the middle of the field. Now versus cover 3, since only one safety is only in the run fit, both inside and outside runs are viable, but it's best to look where the run fits aren't. So in this case, the run fits are always on the right side of the field. So any run to the left would be very viable, and you can get some pretty good chunk yardage as long as you move opposite their key run fit. Since cover 3 is a weak defense, you don't really need to worry about running outside or inside. Just kind of run away from that safety run fit, and you'll find yourself in a great position to get pretty good, easy yardage, right? As you can see, I'm getting about 5 yards a pop pretty easily against a solid run defense in the 3-3-5 wide, or also called the 3-3 cut. Now versus man defense, like Mike Blitz 0, which I'm going against right now, the run fits don't necessarily matter. Since it is a defense where it's all out man coverage, you want things that look like stems. So in this case, you want your receivers to be on these stem routes. Now what these stem routes are is it causes your receiver to run upfield like he's on a streak route. But in reality, he's just trying to distract that corner in order to run the ball, right? So if you have the ability run off elite, the corner will pretty much never even look at the running back when they're in man coverage. So as a result, when I run this play, you'll notice that both corners on the left side are running straight down the field, and you can get some huge gains because of this. A great example is the single back trips HB stretch, which has 3 stems. Also, pretty much all trips plays, inside zones and such like that, have great or are great options because they have stems on the outside receivers. And in general, against man coverage, you want to find plays with those stems. I'm going to showcase a couple examples in the playbook that I'm in now, which is the Niners playbook, which I think is the best run playbook in the game. So in this case, if I call gun tray, you can see inside zone has a play with 3 stems on the outside receivers. So in this case, if I were to run this play, as long as we pick up that block on that linebacker, you can see those 2 safeties or 2 corners, pull all the way back, and they don't even notice the inside zone until they're about 15 yards down the field. And that's the trick to running against man coverage. Although it may be a really good defense for the run, if your players, or if you're calling a run where they have stems, it's very easy for you to run in these gigantic holes that your receivers end up opening up for you. Now, in tip number 4, we're doing simple box checks.
You know why? Because while everyone's chasing each other around outside the box, you know what the box is? Empty.
Which basically means we're trying to get more people blocking for us than there are defenders on one side of the field. Now, although this is a super basic and fundamental tip that you may even see in the skills trainer in Madden, or in general, you might see it on your screen if you're playing on the all-pro difficulty. A box check is we're basically counting all of the players in the box, and we're also figuring out where the weak and strong side of the field is. In this case, it's pretty obvious because the slot corner is on the left side of the field. We want to be running to the right side of the field because that's where less players are. And as a result, that extra player, extra blocker that we have allows us to get pretty gigantic gains. Now, what you want to constantly be doing if you're dedicated to running the ball is creating these advantages in the box check. So in this case, they have the slot corner on the right side of the field. But what we want is that one player advantage. So in this case, if they're in a zone coverage where the players wouldn't follow, we could just motion over our tight end to the left in this case, and suddenly we have an advantage on the left side of the field. We snap the ball, and because we have so many blockers there, we're able to get large gains. Now, this is a simple tip, but it's also very important and can really take your run game to that next level. Tip number 5 is my personal favorite tip, which is the pre-play tricks you can use to enhance every single run you call in Madden. It's no secret that the defensive tackle is the biggest run clogger in the game. He ends up filling those holes and really clogging up multiple gaps that you could be running through for big gains. So my favorite trick to use when facing any sort of set, especially dollar, which is a 3-down lineman set, is just to simply double team the defensive tackle. Now, to do that, you're pressing the left bumper, L1 or LB on Xbox, down on the right stick and X. Now that'll just double team that defensive tackle, and you'll notice that he'll be completely out of the play, right? In this case, he did come from the left there, but that's because the linebacker played really good. But you'll see in a ton of different results that that double team ends up opening a huge hole for us for consistent chunk yardage. As soon as we double team that defensive tackle, he's pretty much taken out of the play, and you can see you can get some gigantic gains. As you can see, we gained about 25, 30 yards right there, just because that defensive tackle was taken right out of the play. So in this case, you'll see the defensive tackle is getting double teamed, and then boom, suddenly he has no effect on the play, and because he was initially double teamed, our center can now go take someone else on, and Zach Martin, our right guard, can hold the block and make sure he stays on the right side of the field while we run to the left right through the gap. Now, not only can you do that, but you can also click onto your offensive lineman. And a lot of you Madden players that are really smart, that have played the game for a long time, know that this is a tell for the defense that you're running the ball. Because if I call a pass play and try to click onto my offensive lineman, it won't let me. But when I call a run play, it does let me. So that tells your opponent you're running the ball, so that might make them run commit. So what you want to do is click on to one of your offensive linemen on the last second. Now, why would you want to do that? Besides telling your opponent it's a run, that sounds like a terrible idea. But what it actually does is it enhances that player's blocking. Now, why does it do that? I don't know what's in EA's coding, but this was a very prevalent technique used back in Madden 20. So I want you to take a long look at Tyron Smith on the left side versus the guard. I'm just going to click off, or versus the left or right defensive end in this case, right? So that would be the right defensive end. And I want you to just take a look at how good his blocking is when I do this. As you can see, I'm going to just take a quick look at this play, and you'll see that Tyron Smith held his block perfectly, right? You'll never find that someone who you click onto gets shedded really easily. So in this case, look, he didn't even move from his position. He couldn't shed to the left. He couldn't shed to the right. He only shedded, well, I wouldn't even say shedded. He just turned around after we were 5 yards behind him, right? So that's just a really easy technique that you can combine. Now, in order to not tell the defense that you're doing this, do it at the last second. So in this case, I'm clicking onto the tackle, right? And you do notice that he was able to quickly go to that linebacker spot and just attack him, right? Click on, boom. Now let's see what he does. Boom. Holds his block. Holds his block perfectly. You notice that guard, or that linebacker, Jewel, wasn't able to shed in that position. So if you can quickly click onto one of your offensive linemen without giving away immediately for a long time that you're running, you'll find that you get good blocking from that person on whoever they're going to target. Now you can combine this with the double teaming of the defensive tackle. Double team the defensive tackle, right? That it'll make sure that he gets picked up, even though he doesn't necessarily have to be double teamed on the field. As long as you have that icon over him, he usually won't shed. And we click onto our left guard here, and you can see there we are, a gigantic hole. Like, we are getting consistent 5-6 yards against these defenses, right? On top of that, there's even more you can do. There's something called the max protect technique that I talked about a lot for causing weak boxes. Now, it doesn't cause a weak box anymore, but it does somewhat enhance your blocking at certain levels, right? So it doesn't, your players can get shedded, right? They will get shedded when you use this technique, but it causes your offensive lineman to attack faster, so it guarantees yardage better. You won't find you're losing yardage as much utilizing this technique, right? So it's a very good technique to use when you only need 1-2 yards, as opposed to going for many, many yards. So I'm going to utilize the max protect technique, which is left bumper, L1, and up on the right stick. Very simple. We can double team and then click on to our lineman. Now, it sounds like we're doing a lot just to run the ball, but I promise it does make a substantial difference, and you will notice it over time. You might not notice it game to game, but you will notice a lot of big plays will come because of this. So let's click on, boom. Let's use the max protect technique. Let's use all these techniques. And as you can see, 10 yards right there. Our lineman that we clicked onto played great. The defensive tackle didn't shed, right? And this is just a fantastic way. So the defensive tackle shut down, right? The guy we clicked onto picks him up. And since we max protected, you notice all defensive linemen just attack so quick. Like, look how quick our right guard is going to attack that linebacker there. Although he's a little too slow to pick him up, you can tell that they're going to attack very quickly. And that's all of those techniques you can utilize to make any run better. Now, if you enjoyed, don't hesitate to leave a like on the video. And if this isn't your first time here, or maybe it is, subscribe to the channel for the best Madden content and best Madden tip content you can find on YouTube. On top of that, if you're looking for some stellar defenses because you're struggling to stop the meta right now in Madden, definitely check out these videos here.